Hello and welcome to Metropole Business Center. This is Tech Tuesday, where we talk matters technology. You can get talking to us on our social media pages at Metropole TV Kenya and me at Tabitha Muthoniji on Twitter. All right, so today we have a lot lined up for you, but we're going to start here with a look at YouTube and how content creators are going to be affected. So June marked the month that YouTube started to effect a 24% tax on US-based ad views, which means that that creatives' earnings will equally be affected. Now, the new taxes will the taxes apply in US-based AdSense, YouTube Premium, Super Chat, Super Stickers, and channel memberships have already been termed as unfair by local content creators, with YouTube already declaring that content creators who fail to submit tax information via their AdSense account will attract a 24% worldwide deduction on advertisement viewerships. And the new changes on Chapter 3 of the US Internal Revenue Code, which govern withholding of taxes on non-residents and foreign companies, following a recently introduced a 1.5% digital services tax charge on sale of ebooks, movies, music, games, and other digital content by foreign firms using the internet in the country. Now, to help us understand this new tax and excuse me, yes, and what it means for content creators, we are joined by Sebastian, who is a YouTuber and also a content creator. Great to have you, Sebastian. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And we'll also be joined by Ivan Amkasa, who is the CEO of SophiBot. Hello, Ivan. Ivan Amkasa, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you very, very, very well. Good morning, Tabitha.
All right, yeah. Okay, so I'll start with Sebastian, who I introduced as a YouTuber for the Kenyan Entrepreneur. His YouTube account is the Kenyan Entrepreneur. He does a lot of shows or interviews on SMEs, and also so much educative and informative shows. So congratulations, Sebastian. Let me start there.
Thanks.
Great.
It's been tough, but we move.
All right, great. So let me start with this new tax and the impact it will have on you. So to what extent is this a new directive going to, have on you as a content creator?
Okay, so I think the obvious reason or the obvious response to that would be the revenue is gonna be cut by 30%.
Yeah.
And if you look at how YouTube works in most cases, as a content creator, you have an average number of views you get in a month. So those views are usually tied to how much you earn. And
yes,
you plan your life based on that. So by having 30% less, it means you have to sort of move things around. So it's an inconvenience. But then again, there are the alternatives that we have. Yeah.
Okay, great. So do we have specific margins that you expect the revenues to go down by? You can expound a little bit on that, and then you can jump straight to Ivan.
So as a YouTuber, by filling in the tax information, so okay, as a content creator first, if your account is a personal account, then you're gonna get charged 24%. If you're using YouTube as a business, for example, you're gonna get 30%. You don't file those details they were asking for, they're gonna go with the standard 30% for everyone who's on the platform. But then again, the YouTube ecosystem has a lot of moving parts, and I would not necessarily fault YouTube, but the people who are sort of overseers of the industry in Kenyan ecosystem.
Okay, so let me jump straight to Ivan. And Ivan, from a tech experts, perspective, do we have specific margins that you expect the revenues to go down by? Looking at this whole scenario from your own, tech expertise.
Oh, so how I see it first is YouTube in itself, like the ad revenues exclusively from YouTube is not enough to sustain a lot of content creators, and they have other ways around it, where is either sponsored content where there's the ads you see, like the YouTube generated ads, but then there's also ads in the content creators. So they don't consider that at first. 15% digital tax. Because for developers, it's already in symptom of that, and it's grossly unfair. I feel it's supposed to incentivize US content creators to show their tax filings, because unless you show them your tax filings, they won't deduct the 24%. So it's incentive to that. But then the law needs to, and Google needs to have different agreements with every jurisdiction they're in. Yeah, so a little bit of context, and I think this law is from US. Is the Americans are getting very overzealous around trying to tax huge corporate entities like the Google, the FANGs, the Google, Microsoft, and Facebook. But then this isn't the approach to do it, because all they're doing is make laws to tax tech giants, but do not let them pass the cost to their creators. So those are the two angles I am seeing.
Great. So, Ivan, do you feel that local creative industry players are well informed to, conform to the directive, or, a majority of them will fall victim to the punishment? How well informed are our content creators?
Because it's a US jurisdiction, I feel the incentive will be to not do anything and just take the 24% hit, because it's for UX tax. For UX tax, it's a different tax code. It's a different. Imagine like the cost of getting accountants who can file for you changes the dynamics from the 24%. So I think most guys will. It's not about information. It's all about considering the effort and considering the effort and the cost. Like we need cost more to have a CPA who can file, who can generate US tax, right? And then they'll do. I think they'll do what they've kept on doing. YouTube as a base for influence and other content creation gigs, where they get a check in their bank account before a video goes up on YouTube, so that the 24% isn't affected on any ad revenue coming in from YouTube.
Okay,
so
let me. Yes. Okay, let me jump to Sebastian. So, Sebastian, how did you come to know about this new tax or this new, directive? How did you come to know about it? What usually, happens before you get to, have this information on your end?
Okay, so as a YouTuber or as a content creator that creates content on YouTube, you have what is called a YouTube studio. So a YouTube studio is basically where you go see your analytics, which videos are performing. You can moderate the comments that are going live on your channel and all that. But then again, your Gmail account or the account that you use for the YouTube management is always linked to YouTube channel. So every time they have any sort of communication coming out, you get it straight on their phone. But just to chime in to what Ivan is saying, okay, I've never known how to pronounce your name. Is it Ivan or Arvin?
Arvin.
Arvin. Just to chime in on what Arvin is saying, I don't think paying tax is a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. Even if it was 40%, it's fine. The problem lies, again, with the people that are sort of overseers of this ecosystem. If you look at content creators on YouTube, especially in the States, some of them are very transparent with how they monetize their content, and they even show you their dashboard. And as I say, at the end of the day, they tell you in the year 2020, 2021, I made $200,000 after tax. That is before tax. So that means, number one, they have to pay the IRS, and then number two, they have to pay state tax. So at the end of the day, they're paying up to 45%. You know, so the problem is, number one, our monetization terms are not as good. So how much you'll be paid for 1,000 views you get. So in the States, someone will be paid between $15 to $25, depending on the state they're in or the region they're in. In Kenya, the best amount you paid for 1,000 views is like $3 or $4. So I'd rather have 60% of $20 per 1,000 views as opposed to 70% or 80% of $3. It's all a mathematics thing. The problem is the person who's supposed to be at the top of this ecosystem is the Kenyan industry. Number one, has never created content on YouTube, so they don't necessarily understand the struggles we're going through. Look at this setup. You go ahead and invest in this kind of setup, but the person representing you doesn't understand what you're talking about. The other day we had the CEO of KFCB coming out and saying creators and musicians are broke. How can you be careless with your words, especially when you're sitting in such an office in a government state? You cannot be the person who's supposed to be looking after people and then you're critiquing them. My question is, if the government had said, don't tax our creators beyond 5%, or you can might as well pack up and go. They will have to conform in one way or the other because they're making a lot of money from the Kenyan ecosystem. If someone who has been a creator and someone who understands how this thing works was representing us, we would have a better chance of representation. And these things have a lot to do with tax treaties. There are countries that have tax treaties with the US and they're not being charged this tax we're talking about. But then again, paying tax is a good thing. It's a good thing. However, if we are paying even the digital service tax that Arvin is talking about, where is that money going to? You know, are we going to see it being used to sort of make sure that anyone who's a registered content creator is getting access to cheaper data, for example? If I'm importing a camera from the States or from Alibaba, am I going to get a cheaper rate as long as I'm a registered content creator? So it's just in the systemization of this ecosystem. Otherwise, 3 years, 4 years from now, we're just going to be having this kind of conversations again.
Yeah, great. So you've mentioned something about the government, and then my next question would be, do you feel the government has done enough to tackle emerging issues under this specific industry? Yes, I know you want to cut me short when I continue. Yes.
Yeah, sorry for that. But I don't think they are invested enough to even know what is happening. The thing is, you see Mungai Eve, for example, interviewing celebrities and later on talking about making 1.5 million after 6 months or 1 year. And you, in your head, you just have this misfire that tell you, okay, I need to figure out a way how I'm going to tax this young guy who's creating content. You don't really understand that, number one, the showbiz ecosystem, number one, runs on cloud. Sometimes people come out and say, I'm making X amount. Just so more and more people talk about them. But it's not really the fact. But even it's fact. Should you not be interested or invested in how they're creating this content? You know, if you're recording on her phone and a cheap microphone, the question is, what are you doing about making sure that you have more and more people doing the same thing without necessarily diluting the industry per se? So just as with any other industry, especially the entertainment industry, we have MCSK and Prisk. Every year we hear the same narrative. I've been sent for 1,000 bucks. What are you supposed to do with 1,000 bucks? And just to understand how the YouTube ecosystem is, like in the States, if someone was to talk about, for example, this water flask, as long as it's a paid ad, they have to say it's a paid ad. So yes, I understand that the government involvement will also come with the regulation and you know, setting systems and making sure that everything is working in a proper way. But again, you'd rather have 60% of $20 as opposed to 90% of $3.
All right. So, Ivan, let me jump to you. And clearly, Sebastian has stated the government is not doing enough. From an expertise, perspective, what areas need immediate attention from the government, and also what are some of the policies around that maybe you can, speak about, to help the industry? Yes.
Yeah, so issue one is tax duties, and then making sure if they want revenues, I know that, like, we're in that, need to increase the revenues. They need to tax the tech giants and do not let the tech giants pass this cost to the people using on the platform. Second thing is something Sebastian was saying, like, how things happen in Kenya is a community is formed, we get progress on our own, and then the government tries and taxes us without knowing how we got to the progress. Our context is, and I'm giving this in relation to the 15% digital tax. There's something called merchant accounts on the Play Store.
Yeah.
And Kenyan developers could not put up paid apps on the Play Store. It was because of lobbying of us, Android developers, and in our community of Android developers, we got merchant accounts, and now want to tax revenue from merchant accounts. So that's the mismatch. Help stakeholders in the field monetize their work first before you think about taxing them. Build the structures for the revenues you want to tax. It makes your life easier. We'll be even more willing to get taxed. So that's policy issue one. Help structures, facilitate structures, and we'll be very happy to pay the tax because you help facilitate the structures that monetize our work. Second is the tax duties with the different jurisdictions that are enforcing those taxes on us, so that it makes sense, and make sure they are taxing the tech giants, the original companies, and do not let these original companies pass this cost down to consumers, because that's the mismatch we keep getting.
Yeah.
Great. Let's talk about some of the opportunities as we wrap up for this industry, for the creative industry. What growth opportunities are there, and how can we invest? Let's start with Sebastian. Talk about the opportunities and also take us through how you have invested as a content creator. Sebastian.
How I've invested? Okay, so I'm just going to talk about the blanket monetization aspect of these digital platforms. My channel is called The Kenyan Entrepreneur, so we talk about matters of entrepreneurship and lifestyle with a focus on people who actually do something without necessarily, losing the essence of what the original idea of the channel was.
Yeah.
But if you look at what is happening right now, especially on YouTube, a lot of conversational content is taking over. We see the easiest way to tell the direction of any industry is to look at what top creators are doing in the ecosystem. If you look at the States, someone like Paul Logan, who used to be a serious blogger, started a podcast on YouTube and this other podcast platform. So the same applies to the #1 TikTok creator, who is Charlie D'Amelio. She has a YouTube channel now, and it's more conversational. So the opportunity lies in conversational content. If I had a sponsor for this video, it would be like, this page is sponsored by so and so. So the opportunities are not necessarily coming from the Google AdSense. Google is good because it's giving us the platform to share our opinions. Number one, if you're going to create content, as a conversational content creator, you have to have an opinion. Otherwise, you're just going to be lost in the rubble. Number two, you need to understand that, yes, YouTube will pay you every 21st of every month, but in between, you're going to have your electricity running out, so you need to figure out a way to monetize your content. So sponsored ads, like having said earlier, okay, I keep looking here because you guys are here. Having someone say, I have this product, it ties in with what you're talking about, so you embed it in your edit. We have people like Ibis, I saw them on one of the posters that you had shared with me, who are saying, okay, instead of putting up a billboard, let's talk to an Instagram influencer who can record a video of the experience at our hotel. And they've been doing a lot of that. So it's all a matter of understanding who you want to talk to and which company wants to talk to the same person, and then tying it all together.
Okay.
And my camera is running out of power.
All right. So,
Yeah.
Ivan, let me get 2 or 3 pointers from you on the same.
Okay, so for me, I think about it in content-wise, and probably it's best because the kind of content I like. Sebastian has talked about like most the most engaging content out there is more conversational. But then I wrote on the subject of the conversation. Kenyans, like, there's a very low-hanging fruit for Kenyans, which is relationship and gossip. And we need to move from that. There's a huge and the same is happening with all these voice platforms. So Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse. Kenyans are doing a lot of that there. But then I think gaming is going to be big. So like pro gamers in this field, live streaming the events. I want to try something around with gaming, sports. Actually, people having conversations and talking about bantering about the week's sports things is also supposed to grow bigger. Comedy, but not in the sense of comedy skits. There's a burgeoning stand-up. There's a burgeoning stand-up movement happening in Kenya, and their content online, same way as as Comedy Central is going to be that's about to be big. And the last monetization is finding ways, and these creators are gatepaid, have a check before the need can be nuanced. Or in this video we'll be talking about Subject X, but before you get into Subject X, this video is sponsored by Product X or Company X. It could be also the subtle placements in the content itself. What coffee are they drinking? What is the day-to-day products that in specific videos? And the last thing, and I don't know why David hasn't mentioned it, is tips. Letting creators, letting fans tip their fan as an extra source of revenue. Probably the biggest guys to do this were CTA, Cleaning the Airwaves, where they have an M-Pesa number. Dave is building something, take tips. And I'm seeing 2 or 3 other players trying to build places where guys can start collecting tips from the fund.
Okay, great. As we wrap up, let's talk about, how the pandemic has affected the creative industry in general, and also Sebastian, you can speak to us about your future perspectives and how you have reinvented yourself during the pandemic, and also Ivan, you'll wrap up on the same. Sebastian, let's start with you.
Okay.
Yes.
So I feel like we talked about the pandemic for the longest time.
Yes.
It does not necessarily, at this point, it's more of what did you do as opposed to how is it affecting you.
Yes.
For me, what we did was setting up this studio and saying, okay, I've procrastinated long enough on these matters, on the matter of content creation. So I was like, okay, it's time to double down. And it took us a full year to get monetized. And that's why I was talking about having an opinion, especially for a conversational content creator. The plan is to make this bigger. Ideally, YouTube is TV. If you look at all YouTube channels, they are borrowing from mainstream TV. What I do is basically this, what we are doing right now, having conversations. We have a creator like Mr. Beast, who, if you look at his content, he's basically borrowing from game shows. If you look at guys who are doing podcasts, is when you used to have, a presenter talking to a guest. It's basically TV, but online. So the question is, do we really understand how mainstream TV makes money? And can we borrow that concept and bring it onto YouTube? If you're a podcast content creator, you need to listen to a lot of radio and see how they embed the ad so that it segues easily into the content that you're talking about. So you just don't talk about microphone as an advance, yet the conversation you're talking about at that particular time is polygamy. Like there has to be a time between the product and the topic that you're talking about. The idea is to have more people create content on this channel that we have right now, sort of to give opportunities, because there are things you already know that most people don't know. Having talked about tipping,
Yes.
There's a platform we built called creator.co.ke, and it came from the basic idea of I have 100 people who watch my content every time it goes up, and that is every day. These 100 people must be seeing something from this or getting value from this. So you're basically putting up a tip there, telling them to my content is not necessarily new. If you go to traditional events and weddings, we have a small group that comes dining and food. One thing they always have is buckets. So they expect value from my conversation. You're supposed to support the content creation process. So basically, it's just the understanding of how to monetize and tying everything together, but at the same time, knowing what you're doing. Is it a business or are you doing it because you have extra time on your hands? I used to have a podcast about how so maybe you can tell us what the plan you had.
Okay, yeah, let's quickly jump to Ivan. Ivan, very briefly, and then we wrap up this. Yes.
Okay, so my sex ed podcast is coming soon. There's a poker thing that'll be coming soon, and then there's also a sleight of hand thing that'll be coming soon. So I'll get in the spaces and interview. But then, so the pandemic is probably as a fan, it's been great for me. I've seen like there's no musicians and artists and creators now have a lot of live music out there, like recorded like music. You have Men of Soul. The band has 2 performances out there. Sauti Sol did a digital release of the Nini, and we should see more of that even post the pandemic as promotional material for for the art, or even as monetizable content for the art. Second is we'll have to, it's a year we're learning how to live with the I think that most creators make their money out of events. My opinion is, and I'm trying to practice it with my own small event, is events are going to move from where you're selling cheaper tickets to 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people. It's you'll be selling higher tickets to fewer amount of people and making sure you can keep them safe at your event. So as public gatherings closed and as drinking spots are still open, guys can still rework their whole event model into smaller maximum numbers, but then higher tickets for a greater experience. That's for live. And the energy should keep moving. They've not had as much digital scope of live venues as we have right now.
All right, thank you so much, Ivan Mukasa, tech expert and CEO, Sophie Bot, yes, and also Sebastian, who is a Kenyan YouTuber for the Kenyan Entrepreneur channel on YouTube, content creator, and also a podcast host. All right, thank you so much. So there you have it on YouTube, and understanding the new 24% directive for the creative industry or for the content creators. And we have also gotten to see the opportunities that are there in the creative industry for the content creators. For now, we take a very short commercial break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.